Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very quick Tuesday afternoon, Youth Day, whatever you want to call it, live stream about saving South Africa from communism. And it's a topic that sort of came to me on my drive back from the shooting range earlier today. Well, I was maintaining my proficiency because sports shooting activities ist verboten. The Gestapo and the Stasi want your papers, please, so you can't go do that. But maintaining proficiency is fine, which means you get to shoot a target still, but you're not allowed to move around so much because moving around might infer you're doing sports shooting. It's ridiculous. It's the stupidest thing, but whatever. I got trigger time today. I'm happy. So first off, the bad news. Let's have a big picture zoom in on the pessimism of the situation. South Africa is in its longest sustained economic downturn since the end of World War II, which is the 75 plus years. We are at our lowest point in economic activity since the previous recession in 2008, 2009. And cross-border transports of goods and services are possibly at the lowest point since the 1980s. Plus, we're sitting with youth unemployment sitting right up there in like 50+%. Our unemployment rate in general is forecast to skyrocket and possibly reach 50% or higher. So it's all grim. It's all like bad news, horrible news. We see stores closing every day. Every time you go to the mall or a shopping center or a retail park, you see more to-let signs go up left, right, and center because businesses have run out of money. They've closed up shop permanently and they're not opening up again. So that's the bad news. The good news, or rather, the good news is that fixing this isn't difficult or complicated at all. It's a very simple thing. We need to get rid of a couple of things. We don't have to make any new laws. We don't have to do anything new. We just have to get rid of some stuff. Firstly, get rid of affirmative action, get rid of BEE. Okay, so unemployment and poverty amongst black people, amongst black youth, at record high levels. Okay, we've had 26 odd years of BE and affirmative action. It's clearly not working. We know for a fact it only benefits the politically connected elite. It means nothing for the average, person. Like the average citizen, the average black person does not benefit from affirmative action. They don't benefit from BE. Also, black executives who are competent, who know what they're doing, a lot of them are immigrating. A lot of the black middle class and upper middle class are immigrating because guess what? They're competent. They can get professional opportunities that pay them better in a more stable economy with more stable firms where their future outlook is better in countries where they get taxed less. So obviously they're going to immigrate and pursue those better opportunities. So you're also losing your black professionals. There's a brain drain happening. And a lot of it has got to do with the economic costs of these social engineering policies, BE and affirmative action. So get rid of that straight off the bat. Get rid of taxation. Like cut corporate taxation right down to 0%. Don't tax people that produce stuff in your country. I'd say destroy, get rid, and abolish personal income tax as well. But I'm just approaching this purely from a corporate investment point of view. Like say 0% corporate tax. You will be overwhelmed with foreign direct investment to actually come build manufacturing facilities here, to expand existing infrastructure, to manufacture stuff here for export, which will benefit this country. It'll develop the human capital far better than any government program can. All the government essentially has to do is get out of the way of private industry, get rid of these restrictive, nonsensical regulations and laws, and just let the market look after itself, and it will. That is how Chile became the top economy in South America. That's how Uruguay pulled themselves up from the bootstraps. That's what Brazil is busy doing right now. That's the same method, essentially, how China eliminated poverty is they became less communist. They encouraged their private sector to grow and become competitive. It's the same success stories in Eastern Europe. The economies there, especially in the Balkan states. So none of this stuff is revolutionary. None of the stuff I'm talking to you about now is new. None of it's unproven. It's a simple fact. However, foreign direct investment, economic growth, all this stuff requires a very simple thing. It requires secure private property rights, secure contract rights. It needs stable politics, stable economics. So government, the ANC, for this to work, would have to let go of their Marxist communist nonsense and get rid of that way of thinking, get rid of those policies. That means no NHI, no expropriation without compensation, none of this bullshit. The problem with the ANC is it appears to be a fundamentally Marxist communist organization. And this brings me back to the fact that in the 1980s, economist Robert E. Lucas was asked in a press interview why Africa is underdeveloped, why Africa is not developing, why its human development index is so low, why its growth index is so low, why Africa just isn't getting anywhere. And he laughed and he said, it's because Africa has terrible politics. And that may seem like a dismissive answer, but it isn't really. The primary reason for South Africa's failure to become a beacon of economic success in the world, to become internationally competitive, is not that we're lacking anything. We've got human capital, we have natural resources, we've got infrastructure, we've got a lot of stuff going for us. The thing that's holding us back, quite simply, is our politics. So we have terrible politics, and that's where the fight really lies and needs to happen. Electoral reform would be a great way forward. That's kind of happening. But ultimately, one way of making this happen is to start operating the economy outside of the scope of politics, to ignore bullshit that government expects us to comply with, to fight it in the courts as a whole, and to send them a message that even though you may try to regulate the formal economy, we refuse to be subjected to the nonsense that you force down your throat. Get your boot off our throat, in fact, and we will do as we deem fit to run the economy and get out the way. And that's the long and the short of it, and that is an applicable solution. Now, that's my high-level academic overview of it, and that's nearly 7 minutes long, and I think that's about the most attention people can give me to these long, rambling things. How are we going to facilitate this type of movement? So dare say, Morning Shot and myself, we all are pushing the narrative in the same direction. And what we kind of need to happen is there needs to be a mass awakening of public consciousness to understand the dynamics that we're dealing with, to understand the situation, to explain to people exactly what I'm saying right now, because it's a proven fact. It's measurable. It's quantifiable. Nothing I'm saying is controversial. People freak out when you say get rid of BE in affirmative action. But the only real argument they have is that for some bizarre reason, they think it's racist. Okay, policies that deliberately or that have the consequence of keeping black people poor and making them poorer, if you want to repeal that, you're racist. That's the type of nonsense that we need to fight in the public space, in the public mind, in the public domain, and the public consciousness every single day. And that's why videos like these are important. And that's why you also need to get your voice heard really out there, is to push this idea. Help us push this idea, talk to people about it, make it well known. And that's essentially it. So for those of you who didn't really want to interact with me today, you can tune out now, because that's my 8 minutes of fixing South Africa. And it's supposed to be an idea seed. It's for you to go out there, take what I've told you here, run with it, share the video, whatever you need. And now I can just say hello to everyone in the audience that I've ignored. Well, I haven't ignored. That was part of the thing. So hello, Alan, Paul Hart, everybody. If all of you watching on Facebook, if you wouldn't mind joining my YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it, because it makes it a lot easier for me to get myself more independent and away from Mark Sugar Mountain's brand, because he's already banned me once and he might do it again. We saved SA from commies a while ago. We can definitely save South Africa from communism. But also remember that a lot of this is a battle of ideas, guys. It's not necessarily... It's not like the Weimar Republic in Germany, where you had the reactionaries and the Nazis and the communists all fighting street battles with guns and knives and broken bottles and petrol bombs. That's not how this fight's going to be won. It's a case of we need to fight this battle in the hearts and minds of the public, and that's why videos like this are important. Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you here. Hi, Steve from Randburg. Waiting for the promised snow. CEO, the only reason for government to exist is to live off state taxes. Exactly. By the way, subscribe to Anton. This is Anton Stechman. That's his show. He does really interesting interviews with really interesting economists. I especially liked his one with David Ritt. And I think I've said that a million times. BE must go. Exactly. It needs to get the fuck out of our economy. The thing of nouns, great seeing you here again, sir, the dodgy idealist as well. the best way to get rid of BEE is to stop complying with it. This is the thing that corporate SA also needs to show their spine. And the fact is also, if corporate SA won't show their spine, then small and medium enterprises need to do it for them, need to find their spine for them and say, well, we're your suppliers. We refuse to comply with BEE certification. If you want our goods, take what we have or fuck off. Collectively, the corporates need you as much as you need them. And it's corporate SA will never, ever, ever fight government the way that the little guy on the street can. So that's evident from how the tobacco case has been going and a whole bunch of other stuff, and how SAB just bent over backwards to comply with the alcohol ban. They didn't even fight it. They didn't even try. So exactly, free market system to the rescue. Get rid of the LRA, exactly. Why do people think America is one of the most dynamic and successful economies in the world? They've got a lot going for them. But in America, if you get fired from a job, it's not the end of the world, because you're probably going to get rehired somewhere else for more or less the same conditions a week or so later. That's how the US work. Well, that's how the US works. Sorry, proper English. So we need to get rid of this thing where we make it difficult, where we lock employees in and we lock employers in, and there's no dynamic movement in the market. The more employment there is in a country, the more dynamic an economy is. Sure, you might lose your job easier, but you're going to get it back a whole lot quicker. The problem with South Africa is we're seeing the situation now where everyone is struggling to keep their jobs. And if you lose your job now, you've lost it. It's easy for you to lose it in this economy, and it's a whole lot harder for you to get it back again. This is the problem with not having a dynamic economy, where we've got these lock-ins and where things move slowly, and where there is paperwork and bureaucracy and red tape in order to facilitate. An employment contract is really this. I, as an employee, am selling my services to you, the employer. It's a transaction. If I don't like what you offer, I don't have to sell what I have to you. And if you don't like what I offer, you don't have to buy. It's that simple. It's really a transaction. And we formalize this thing into this whole weird sort of social justice mingelmoes that doesn't make sense. And all that it does is it just makes employment and employing people and finding work and finding employment far more difficult than it should be, because we've got this weird socialist system that, God forbid, if you have a job and you really suck at it, we should make it as hard as possible for your employer to dismiss you. What happens now is the employers don't want to take the risk at hiring anybody, because just now you hire a dud or a lemon and you can't get rid of them. So best is automate as much as possible and don't hire anybody, because it's too much of a hassle to fire them. So employers don't want to take risks and chances with human capital, and human capital doesn't develop, because one way of developing yourself as a professional, as a person, is to, funnily enough, work in the direction that you're trained to work in and gain experience. Because guess what? The moment you leave the university with your degree, you essentially have a license to learn. You know fuck all. You know nothing. You don't know how the real world works out there yet. And that's why starting as a junior in a company, or starting as a new entrepreneur and being allowed to make mistakes and getting away with it, and then learning from the mistakes, you turn into a better, more well-rounded professional, for want of a better word. And current legislation inhibits this process to the cost of everybody, employers and employees. So that's why human capital doesn't develop, and that's why it immigrates as well. Toxic masculinity, Paul. If we're not going to refer to, the fact that it's a non-existent SJW term, it's basically anything that is traditionally male is now toxic, because that is the evil in the world, apparently. BEE, blame big business. Exactly. That is exactly what it is. Nicholas, don't save South Africa, embrace Cape independence. South Africa's been a failure from the start. Its culture is inherently authoritarian. The Cape has a history of liberty, and to a very large degree, I agree with you in the sense that someone asked me again today, do I think there's merit to Cape independence? And I said there is a hell of a lot of merit to it. If you look at, the breakup of Yugoslavia in the mid-90s, that was a violent fuck-up, and we don't want that. But the concept of a former union of states turning into independent ones is nothing new under the sun. It's been happening throughout history. And there really is no reason why an independent Western Cape would have to struggle with too many issues like having its own monetary policy. Just peg your currency 1-to-1 to the US dollar, or fully adopt the US dollar as your currency until you figured stuff out. The NAM dollar is pegged 1-to-1 to the South African rand, and there's a whole bunch of currencies out there that are actually pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar. It's Yeah, you can copy and paste monetary policy. So a lot of people says, yeah, but what currency would we use? I go, well, there you go. You just steal a monetary policy you like until you figure this stuff out. There's no reason why an independent Western Cape can't work. I mean, there are millions of people living here. Switzerland has only 7 million people living there. Croatia is just under that. There are countries with 5 million that make a huge success. And I mean, land area doesn't matter. Singapore roadmap. Okay, I don't agree necessarily with Singapore's politics, but it's one of the few countries in the world that that's entire economy is basically based around importation export. It's the gateway to Asia and a gateway to the East, and it's positioned itself as that since the 1950s, 60s, and it's maintained that as being a strategically important position from a military and commercial and trade point of view. And it's about playing to your strengths. That's basically it. I know it won't happen if we wait for permission. This is the whole problem. Like, we don't need permission from the ANC to be independent and free thinking. We can do what we want and fuck them. And I think it's time that collectively we tell the government we are going to run our businesses as we deem fit. We will form a coalition to fight you in the courts and to change public opinion. And you can't stop ideas with bullets. You can't stop ideas with Marxist rhetoric. You are old school, ancient communists who still think the Berlin Wall stands, and you still think the Cold War is in full swing. Cyril Ramaphosa, Pravin Gordhan, and everyone else, fuck you. We're in control of our own destiny. And that's essentially the awakening that we need. And this is the other thing, is we need to facilitate this awakening across racial boundaries, because that's truly what it is. The call of ethno-nationalism is very strong and powerful, and a lot of people embrace it for various reasons, and whatever, I'm not here to judge you. The thing is just, if you want this to succeed, you cannot look at it as a narrow-minded issue, and you can't take a narrow approach to it. That's essentially one of the major pitfalls that a lot of independence organizations, a lot of independent thinking organizations do, is they try to ethnoize or nationalize or culturalize the issue. Money, commerce, economics, and industry doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a language. It doesn't have a religion. It doesn't have it doesn't have politics. It's about trade between individuals, and an industry is nothing more than trade, manufacturing, all this sort of stuff done on a grander scale. But the smallest cog in that grand wheel is still the individual, and you ignore the individual at your own peril. And that's really the one takeaway I think people should have from something like this. Kyle, great to see you here. Thank you for tuning in. Ahmed, my Algerian subscriber, great to see you here. And assalamu alaikum. If I can still do the Arabic thing properly. Democracy is a kind of good system. A solid justice system. Starship Trooper citizenship system is way more reliable and simple. So you're also a Heinlein fan and reader. You know what? I read Starship Troopers for the first time properly last year. One hell of a novel. A really good book. It's really not a story as much as a treatise on a political system, and I can highly recommend reading that. Thanks to Nicholas, who actually borrowed me or lent me his copy and allowing me to read it. So thank you. Hello, Linda. Good to see you here as well. No, it's just ain't never going to happen. It ain't going to happen if we wait for it to happen, guys. It ain't going to happen if we look in other people's eyes to make it happen. We need to be active citizens, take control of our own destinies, fraternize with each other. Please join my small business network, for example, my business directory that's on the Paratus page. Send me an email to, here's my email address. If you want in, it doesn't cost you a cent. Just please link back to me, share it, make people aware that it exists. I need you guys to reach critical mass with that. Silly little things like that is we need to, if you want change, you have to make it happen. The ANC will never, ever, ever facilitate change. The ANC will never, ever, ever be pro-freedom. They will never be pro-commerce. They are obsessed with centralized state control over the economy and over your personal life and over society. They will never give you anything for free. You have to fight for it. You have to take it and refuse to give it back. And you have to stop giving them quarter. And this is why I get so angry at the corporate media, especially News 24, who is sucking the ANC's balls all the time by trying to make excuses for lockdown and try and spread alarmist nonsense and deceptive headlines and telling us how good a job St. Cyril the Weak is doing and how he's the good guy and the rest of the ANC is bad. I'm sorry, he isn't a good guy. He was there from the start. He sat next to Zuma, fat, dumb, and happy for 10 years while Jacob raided our country, stole everything and then some. He's complicit, and we're acting like this oak is the good guy. It's the same as telling me, oh, he was one of the good Nazis. It's like, fuck off. Like, that is not even a thing. We need to encourage people to stop thinking, to buy into the Stockholm syndrome that somehow the ANC has our best interests. That's what they don't. They never had. They don't care. They want to raid. They want to steal. That's all it's about. And I've gotten way behind on the comments again, so I'm just going to scroll straight through with Shoal being here, but you guys make really good points. So exactly, it requires more than talk. Actually requires action, commitment, investment in getting stuff done and taking risks in how you structure your business, and stop bowing down to what big corporates and regulators tell us and fight them every step of the way. Spit them out, Gideon. Hate you a bit for being on the range. Listen, it's the first time in months that I've gone. And if it weren't for my laser training setup, my CERT and my little G-Sight laser cartridge for my Glock 19, I would be way rustier than I am. But I definitely need to do this more often. Mareike, I see you noticed the upside down flag, and there was a reason for that. And Mareike is joining Brian and myself for Whiskey Friday, by the way, for those of you who are fans. If you're not fans, you don't know what I'm talking about, tune in on Friday at 3 p.m. and find out what Whiskey Friday is all about. And those of you still watching on Facebook, come join the cool kids on the YouTube channel. Come, I'm broadcasting on both right now. You will, Paul, this was a short run thing, but we're going to get in the range together. Don't even worry about it. I do have the right arm of the free will, the effing fell. I like this, Anton. We do need a confederation of states, and to be frank, that's the only model I can imagine will actually work. A confederation of states that trade freely and have free movement of people, but retain their independent systems, because then the capitalist country republic can move away from this communist shithole that the ANC wants to turn us into. Move our money away from the scum. See, there's an action you can take right now, is get your money out of the clutches of the ANC government. Do as much as possible to pay as little as tax possible so you can starve the fuckers out, ruin their fiscus, because then they will be forced to either shrink it or start printing money. The moment they start printing money, our system will move over to dollar-based, because everyone will be doing the same thing they do in the rest of Africa, which I see where I work there in contract. They all have their own currencies, but everyone trades in dollar. The actual official national currency is used as toilet paper. And if they want to turn the rand into that, let them. Don't let it panic you. Just make sure that you can move whatever you have into Bitcoin, and from Bitcoin you can convert it into anything else. Like, it really is, Bitcoin is a mechanism to protect your savings and to protect your assets from the devaluation of the rand, the debasement of the rand by the ANC. The private sector have always led the way in economic transformation. That's exactly it. Christoph, logic seems not to work. We need better emotional arguments. We need to infiltrate the culture using art. We need to frame our solution the way they don't need to explain economics. So exactly. And one of the most wonderful ways of doing this is to tell people to fuck off, and that they're not part of the cool kids, and to show it to them, and by being the cool kids. And it's almost a weird thing. Capitalism is now the counterculture. It's a complete reversal from the 1980s. And I think we would be stupid to not capitalize on that. Our biggest problem with your solution, which is, thank you, Paul, for the compliment, the majority of the population are stupid, hence the push for a 30% pass rate. Well, look, this is the thing, right? Lack of education is a major problem, but ultimately misery, destitution, and the fact that, there's large-scale unemployment is a bigger one. And the major issue with capitalists and economists who aren't radical is that we're not offering solutions that they can feel. We're not speaking to their emotions. And this is why Christoph is right. We need to turn this also into an emotional argument, turn prosperity. It's an easy sell. We need to sell people, not that we're going to take stuff that belongs to other people and redistribute it. We're going to sell them the good story of you can be a prosperous entrepreneur. You can build a future for your children. There is a way to do this, and you've been lied to about saying that you have to look into the eyes of government as your savior. You don't have to. You can be a strong, independent citizen. You can be a provider for your family. You don't need government. Look, unions are a problem, but ultimately, unions are only as powerful as you allow them to be. You do not need to subject yourselves to violence and intimidation. And, if corporate SA stopped bending over backwards to malicious industrial action, then we would see a whole nother story. But of course, as Steve points out, they're the ANC's bitches. How's it, Laurie? I haven't dropped the Roni again. It was unloaded, by the way. I know a lot of people think they saw the magazine. The magazine was just in the front bit there where the mag holder is. It wasn't actually in the pistol. So everyone could just calm down a little bit. Well, not you guys. You guys are cool. There's just one or two people on Facebook who didn't understand how it worked. Rachel, how's it? Unfortunately, the current government wants more people unemployed to keep them dependent on them. Exactly. They are. It's a paternalistic thing. The ANC wants to be big daddy government. They want to treat us all like we're naughty children, and which they are doing at the moment. And this is this whole thing with soft level 3 is government. That's why I can't go to the shooting range and run around shooting at targets the way I want to practice the drills I want to practice, to maintain the proficiency with my weapons that I want to attain. Because if I move around too much, it might look like sports shooting, and sports shooting is bad because virus. I'm just the paternalistic bullshit is actually, well, it's gotten to me since the start. But this is really what it's about. They are enjoying their power trip, and they like telling responsible adults who are, we can vote, we can make children, we can work, we can pay taxes, which we hate doing because taxes just feed them. We're being treated like children, told, oh, don't drink too much, oh, do this responsibly. Even Alan Wendy from the DA, and it's like, Alan, fuck off. Like, you're not my dad. You're a voted in public servant. You're a politician. Like, behave like one. Stop trying to act like you've got some weird sort of moral high ground. I'm also supportive of basic universal income. Automate everything, then pay people. Privatize everything. That is such an extremist accelerationist view. I actually love it. No, they'll never give it up, Olivia. They'll never give the ANC up, not willingly. They'll have to be forced to give it up one way or the other. But to be honest, if the entire Cape decides it is independent, they do not have the resources to stop it. This is the other thing that people need to understand. The mass of numbers are too big. If you have 7 million people who say, we are independent, we are not subscribing to your bullshit anymore, take your SAPs and your SANDF and get out, what are they going to do? There's nothing they can do, and they are terrified of people waking up to this fact, ultimately. The Singapore is not even a soft police state. It's a proper police state. It's a very prosperous one, but I wouldn't want to live there. Thank you very much. Realistically, BE won't go away. Economy is a disaster post COVID-19. Hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs, small businesses won't risk losing livelihood by standing up against corporate and the ANC. They will, I think, if we encourage them. The biggest fear I think a lot of people, business owners included, have about standing on principles is the fact that they're afraid of being alone. They've got no one standing shoulder to shoulder with them. They've got no one supporting them in this battle of ideas. They don't feel like anyone has their back. And this is, again, why this whole public consciousness is important. That's why I bought this mask from Roman on his morning shot, the Obey one. It's actually quite comfy, and I hate masks, but it sends a really good message. And lockdown. I mean, sorry, let me just do it there. My apparel that I'm selling, the caps and the hoodies, same manufacturer, same distribution. But I bought this for a reason, in the sense that it sends a message. It sends a message that there's a bigger threat called communism. It's a bigger threat than the virus. It's the biggest threat since the lockdown. And you're not alone. You're not alone in the way you feel. I also want to start making shirts that has messages on them about fighting communism, support small businesses, get the communists out. We need to stop being even subliminal about it and just be blatant and say, if you hate the commies, if you believe that BE and affirmative action is wrong and that it's impoverished more South Africans than any other policy post-1994, then you're not alone. And we should fight this together, and we should create publicity and support for it. and take back the moral high ground. And I think that's an important part, is to make sure that people don't feel alone. Because if you don't feel alone, then you've got courage. It's a lot easier having courage. Monaco become a tax haven, exactly what we should do. South Africa should be a tax haven and encourage foreign direct investment. Daddy, please play with me. Sure, let's go. Ding ding. I'm sorry, Daniel. Fortunately, all this stuff is recorded. Indeed, the book it's not even the same thing. Like if you saw the movie and you read the book, you'd be hard pressed to find out that it's the same intellectual property. The film is vastly different to the book, as in vastly inferior. And I'm not saying that to try and sound intelligent. It really is. Thanks for the compliment, Conrad. By the way, tonight at 7, I'm chatting to our man from the DA, Andrew Whitfield, who's on the police portfolio committee, and I think it's going to be a real fun one. So please tune in if you have time. It's a fun live stream discussion, so you guys can obviously comment. The business page needs to be indexed by region, province. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys didn't give the exact regions, and there's not really enough of them yet to start doing it. There's only about 100 businesses on there, and a lot of them fortunately do give services or provide services that can work not internationally, nationally. But yeah, we will start recategorizing those as we get more interest and more businesses on there. So please do get on there if you want to. I'd really appreciate it. It's my pleasure placing you on the directory, Conrad. And all that I ask for everyone is to please spread that directory around as far and wide as you can. I need awareness that it exists to get out there. And there's so many of you on my Facebook and on my Twitter and on my YouTube that if all of you just spread it where you can, it will become a thing that people know about. And that's, to get that critical mass is important. We should all get together and talk about possible collaboration of businesses, create a separate economy. And that's kind of what your channel is about, isn't it, Anton? The CEO Tip-Off Show is you've been a big driver towards working together. And that was kind of the idea with my business directory. Roman on the Morning Shot is starting his business directory. We're going to link it all up, hopefully, possibly under the umbrella of DRSA with Rob Hutchinson. So there's a whole bunch of us working together, not even so much behind the scenes. It's pretty blatant in the public eye in order to advance these types of ideas. And we'll talk. I'll give you a shout tomorrow, Anton, actually. Got your number. You got mine. And we need more ideas on how to push ideas more and to collaborate and to get that so-called critical mass so we can actually start facilitating change and support, especially for small businesses. Average IQ is real, sadly. Average IQ globally is 100, but for those of you who didn't know, it's adjusted every couple of years to keep it at 100. But the problem is that even with the adjustments, they have to readjust criteria. So if you have an IQ of 75, you're in trouble, no matter what the average is, or no matter whether or not the average has been adjusted up or down. Just the upside down flag is actually the right way. Situation normal for the Republic of South Africa, isn't it? It has hurt private healthcare hugely, by the way. So many elective surgeries that have been cancelled, elective work that the private sector relies upon. And that's actually hugely important for people to maintain their health and well-being, not being done because COVID scare. It's done huge damage to the private healthcare sector to the point where medical practices might actually close down because of this, because of the lockdown. We flattened the curve so hard, we're actually closing private medical practices down. Sean, how's it? The Mbeki stated in his presidency that the ANC couldn't afford another Bush war. They had to become the Bush, i.e. the People's War. Our minority youth need to learn trades because we need them to rebuild. At our current trajectory, we are pretty fucked current trajectory. By the way, read Anthea Jeffrey's People's War if you want a good insight into the inner workings, the sick inner workings of the ANC. As a dagbreker, exactly, automation. And South Africa has become a very automated manufacturer because of this. especially if you look at agriculture and if you look at the auto industry. Kathy, how's it? Good to see you. Did I wear a mask? Only when I went in, the skull one, the one with the teeth and stuff. But when I'm out in the range by myself, no, I'm nowhere near anybody. I'm not going to wear a mask. I hate masks. I struggle to breathe in them, and I can only wear them for a few minutes. Probably the Hawaiian shirts. I just need to test the water with the merchandising first, because the Hawaiian shirts are going to be expensive just due to the nature of their cotton, polyester, they're fully immersed printing, all this sort of stuff, techno jargon. They're going to, if they retail at like 520 Rand a shirt, I'm only making 20 Rand profit off them, basically. So they'll be more of a labor of love than something that makes me money. But probably in time for summer, because they're short-sleeved. And if people want them, then we'll make them. So definitely, it's something that I really want to have happen, but I just need to make sure it's actually viable and that people want them, because it's a big risk to take at that price if you make the shirts and no one buys them. But if enough people tell me that they want them, then if I get 100 names on a spreadsheet and you want the Hawaiian shirt, you will get it. It will be done. Otherwise, I'll just sell some other merch in the meantime, and then as soon as we've built up enough capital, we'll take the risk on the Boogaloo Hawaiian shirts. Sorry, I'm just still scrolling through. But you guys should also go independent. There's plenty of scope for Gauteng and the other provinces to find their own independence. The army isn't shit, and they're probably going to get, them and the SAPs are probably going to get huge budget cuts when the next budget is tabled. They've already been getting massive budget cuts, and the budget cuts aren't going to stop. So don't expect any more effective policing. But we've learned this lesson as well. Governments that can't, look at the Zimbabwean police. They've got no budget. What they lack in budget, they make up for in brutality, right? Which is how these fuckers do it. T-shirts with the logos, resist like it's 1776, or faith, flag, family, freedom. I dig this stuff, Artemis. I really do. I think I've been saving a lot of slogan ideas in my head for when I start putting them on T-shirts, and this is actually a good one. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to screenshot your comment quickly. Boom, there we go, and save it for later. Anton, let's do a live session, and we each describe and motivate crazy idea, 5 minutes each. Geez, like how many? Yeah, I think you need to go, just give me some prep time, because I have a lot of crazy ideas, and I'm going to have to figure out how to compress them into 5 minutes each. Well, fortunately, it is recorded, so you'll be able to get it. I will not forget about 9 p.m. tonight, I promise. So I'm only on from 7 to 8, and then Beth is on after me. And then at 9 p.m. stuff happens as well. Beth, you didn't miss a hell of a lot, but you can always rewind. The thing is, this video started as like a 5-minute tidbit. I'm trying to copy Roman's morning shot thing, but it's impossible doing the live stream because the audience interaction is really awesome. There we go. Spread the business directory like a virus, please, guys. I'd really appreciate it. As a parent, I'm scared for my kids getting hurt or seriously sick because I won't be allowed in the hospital with them. Yeah, a lot of the hospital protocols, especially people giving birth and the father and the family not being allowed to visit, and the mother having to lie there by herself after cesarean or after a natural birth for days without getting visitors, it's absolutely inhuman practice because of a virus with a 99% survivability rate. I mean, come on. Are we waking up to the fact that this is a scam yet? The health minister today urged the youth to police society to make sure everyone wears a mask. I tell you what, if a 16-year-old snot-nose comes to me and tell me I must put my mask on, I'd have to restrain myself considerably to not get a charge of common assault leveled against me. But they will be told in no uncertain terms where to stick their stuzzy nature up their ass, for those not paying attention. Privatization of police and judiciary, that's not even a crazy idea. That is an awesome idea. And the Mises Institute had a wonderful article they ran about a case for privatizing the police and how it would work in practice. And it's one of those things that people go, but that's crazy. It's like, no, it's not. Like, remember, privatization of police and judiciary doesn't mean we're turning it into a corporate entity that has some sort of ulterior motive. We're talking about financing. It's a financing argument, okay? As opposed to channeling funding to police via a government entity, we're not channeling funding to the police directly as customers, as clients, because to be honest, we are customers and clients, especially if it's community-based policing and we're all involved in it as active citizens, as we should be, is an even stronger argument for privatizing the police and privatizing the judiciary. So that's a conversation we should have, Anton. I would love to have that with you. I just need to go do a bit more reading because there's a lot of really awesome philosophy on it, and I don't want to miss out on things. Or rather, I don't want to fail at presenting a compelling argument in the 5 minutes you'll allow me to talk about it. Elective surgery is down by more than 50%. I can fully believe that. I'm actually surprised they're not down more. I think a while back they were down by 70 to 80%. They've probably picked up a little bit by now as we entered level 3. But level 4 and 5 was absolute bloodbath for elective surgeries and private practice in healthcare. What do I think of Herman Mashaba, a political opportunist? I liked him in the beginning. I really did. I thought, he had this radical capitalist element to him. He had, he walked he talked the talk and he tried walking the walk. But I don't know. I get a creepy vibe from Herman. I don't trust the guy. I trust very few politicians. But listen, unpopular opinion, I don't like Helen Zille either. Okay, I don't like Danny Helen. I don't like Herman. There's a whole bunch of people in politics I don't like. I'm okay with John Steenhuisen. I think he means well. I think he's an okay guy. I just think he needs to find his spine a little bit, and he needs to start being a bit more forceful. He's being far too polite in the biggest economic crisis in this country's history, and you just stop licking ass and start kicking ass and taking names, John, if you're watching this. Not that he would, but I mean, in the unlikely event that John Steenhuisen was watching that, that's my advice to you, John. Okay, Alan wants one, so that's one name on the spreadsheet, and I'm just put Christoph down as well because he asked. Take my money now, or should we want totally break? Okay, there's 3. The TDI autonomous zone, I like that. We got a whole bunch of things. What is my view on the right to repair? Like when you can fix a machine yourself, but large companies try and prevent that. That's a total bullshit thing. The big companies have no right to tell you what to do with your own property. The moment you buy that machine, it's yours, and you can do with it whatever you want. And to be honest, if they would then want to go, okay, we don't want to honor the warranty, sure, do that, play that card. But to tell people that they're not allowed to maintain their own equipment is frankly bullshit. It's yours. We will not accept a 5-minute stream. No, you guys never do. God, I always come on here with this idea that I can just have a quick truth bomb dropping and leave, and then the audience just picks up and it just carries on. If they cut the SAP's budget, the bribe rates will just increase. Exactly. You'll see an increase in brutality in order to solicit bribes from the public. Just don't bother negotiating from a position of weakness. Remember that people are the only honest to some extent, and that's flexible depending on the situation, and that helped us survive. Exactly. I love Algerian truth bombs, and they keep coming. Got to pre-record a 5. Yeah, but then I miss out on talking to you guys, which is also a problem. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. Indeed it is. And that's also something I can go in a shirt, although neither of us came up with it, but it's still a good thing. Bugger the curve, flatten the commies. Love it. We 100 hyped up. You start demanding people wear masks. There's a problem, which is why you carry a Glock 19 and 3 spare magazines. Okay, I see you read the Mises article. I will share it on my page again, just for the hell of it. Because let me just come back to this. It was a bit of a dismissive comment. If 100 hyped up people start doing public violence, it's no longer a request. It then becomes public violence. And if your life's in danger, you can do what you need to do to ensure that you survive whatever unlawful attack is lodged upon your person. So it's a play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Spread the business directory. I'm a one-man lossagist and I support minority-owned business. Dude, if you're not on there already, get on there. I've got a lot of one-man bands on there. If you're a professional and you just want to advertise your services, you don't have to be like a company per se. I just want there to be people on there, small enterprises who want to get some exposure and who want to use the directory to maybe connect with other enterprises, each other, or use it as a booster for their boost awareness that they exist, really. Any hairdressers in Boland prepared to deliver a sandwich? I can send you a number of a few, Paul. Send me a private message. We need to deduct 2 from the next stream. 2 minutes or 2 people? How's it, Mark? Great seeing you here. I'm pretty virused out. I'm done. Wouldn't it be great if the tossers in charge would just let us do us and they can do them? Well, that's exactly, I think, what I proposed in the beginning of this extremely long 5-minute live stream, which is now 45 minutes long. I went you guys can't complain. You do get value for your money with me. Well, they're not paying me, but if you want to buy me beer, if you want to buy me a beer or whiskey, you can scan that with your phone. That's the official Paratus Zapper code thingamabob. And I already got some people like Marika and a whole bunch of other really cool folk that contributed literally money for alcohol for Whiskey Friday. So please feel free to make use of it. If you missed it, just rewind and you can catch it there. Okay, I see I'm not the only one who doesn't like politicians. Linda, the husbands are allowed in theaters with their wives for C-sections unless COVID's positive. I'm sure with natural birth. No, there's no real consistency with this because different hospitals seem to have different protocols on what they do. And I don't want to tarnish a particular hospital brand's name, whether it was Life or Mediclinic, I can't remember. But one of them on the garden route was being particularly arseholy about this and wasn't allowing anyone in except the mother. And then she had to stay there by herself while she recovered from birth, which was total BS. It's bullshit. I mean, I've already been a potty mouth on my own stream. So John Steenhuisen is like a fragile cactus. That is the most wonderful thing I've ever heard. I'm screenshotting that as well to save it for later. I want to use that in something. Thanks, Dodgy Idealist. That's an awesome comment. The market is busy correcting itself. It is indeed, and that's what it does. It always corrects itself no matter what the government tries to do. Grow your hair. Do the 80s look Magnum PI with a Hawaiian shirt, but skip the Ferrari. I don't think any of us can afford that. Or the English manservant either. Yes, Anthea Jeffrey's videos are an eye-opener, and she does awesome work. The IRR does great work. Must be careful privating the police and judiciary. Can go wrong very fast. Good example is the private prison system in the US. But that's, again, the issue with that is not the privatization itself. Let me just leave that up there. The issue there is the corporatism involved in it and the lack of oversight, the lack of civilian oversight. So privatization isn't what led to the evils there. It's the prison system's privatized, but the system itself is still federal. It's still government run. So you don't report, rather you're not a servant of the law, you're a servant of the government. And as soon as if you're no longer a servant of your community, as long as you're no longer a servant of the law, as soon as you start militarizing your police and your SWAT team is the solution to every problem, what the US police and justice system has become, it's a big ass hammer, and every single problem has now become a nail, which is why, you're tasering people at traffic stops left, right, and center, as opposed to just doing policing. And privatization might not necessarily fix a sick culture, but direct accountability to the public who pay your salary certainly does. And I think that's the part of it. Graham, hello to Boomer Book. And drug legalization, since more crimes and less freedom, more convictions, more money. Exactly. The war on drugs was lost a long time ago, a very long time ago. But the federal government likes the war on drugs because if they didn't, they would have given up on it. But we can't have that. John is sadly still only the interim leader. I'm guessing that's why it hasn't sparked his fire too much yet. DA needs to hold their election ASAP because we need to vote next year. ANC cancelling. Yeah, I see the ANC is trying to cancel or postpone or delay the elections next year. And the DA needs to get their house in order ASAP. Hawaiian shirt and Paratus branded Ray-Ban glasses. Magnum PI moustache. That could be our look for summer, guys. Our look for the summer of lockdown. And you can pump some synthwave while you're at it, and we're back in the 80s. The directory, Olive, is, hang on, I'll give you the actual, stand by one moment. I'm going to give you the actual link. It's on the Paratus. Here's what you do. Go to www. or just paratus.info. Give me a sec. Go there, and then just click on the business directory, and you will find it. And then you can tell me if you want in and just send me an email. Yes, I agree. Stop with the victimless crime, smoke weed, eat shrooms, and drink Bushman's tea. I approve of this message, by the way. Is it true that CZ Scorpion counts as a pistol, and would you recommend? I have to check. I do not know what the official designation in South Africa of a pistol / rifle / hand machine carbine is, but it might. And the CZ Scorpion scratches a particularly Slavic itch, but some people love it. Look, if I had to pick between that and an Uzi, I would take the Uzi, but just because that's me, that's personal preference. There's nothing wrong with the CZ Scorpion. It's a pretty cool little, machine pistol, but because it'll be semi-automatic for civilian use, it's not really a machine pistol, but it is. Yeah. Should we ever surrender our weapons? No. Short answer, no, never. Never, ever, ever surrender your weapons, because you will never get them back. And in fact, they'll probably be leaked to criminals, as Colonel Chris Prince did while he was still in the cops. He was an ex-colonel when he did it. He was a serving colonel, and all his friends and lackeys had assisted them doing it. How's it, Clive? No problem joining late. Sorry, that was 5 minutes ago you sent me this comment. My take on the Western Cape independence NGOs. There's a few. I don't know all of them. I'm still trying to feel my way around it cautiously. Cape Exit or Cape Sit, I presume it's Cape Exit. They seem to me to be the guys with the clout and with the manifesto and with the rational approach to this. And I think they're approaching this particular debate and this action from the right angle. So I'm happy to associate with Cape Exit, to be honest, from what I've seen. If they do dodgy stuff, please let me know, and then I can talk about it. But for now, that would be the NGO I go for. Dodgy idea, 2 minutes. How are you going to deduct 2 people from the live streams? Just annoy them. I'm just going to annoy them enough and they'll leave by themselves. That's what they'll do. We need a new party that's anti-political. The main aim is to give power back to the people. The major problem with politics is it attracts politicians, and politicians by the very definition is something known as a vote maximizing agent, and they will never be anti-political because they've got skin in the game of being politicians, which is essentially being leeches off the public purse. There are good people in politics. There are very good people in politics. There are very good people in the DA in politics and in the Freedom Front. And I would have at one stage have liked to believe there may even have been good people in ANC, but I don't believe there are anymore. I believe the ANC is a fundamentally sick organization and that they should die and that they are busy killing themselves, to be honest. You have 3 firearms. Can you have a shotgun too? You can have as many firearms as you want if you do Section 16 and speak to the NHSA about that. Don't you think the root cause of the problem is democracy and not corruption? Not really. Let's rephrase what democracy is, because it takes different forms, right? Popular, like direct democracy, one man, one vote, doesn't work because essentially it's mob rule, free for all. That's why federal systems, federal republics work. Like Switzerland's canton systems, the US is a federal republic, Germany is a federal republic. There are many federal republics in the world, and that works. It's a system of representation where you don't have this type of rancid, foaming at the mouth mob rule that upends things, and you get politics isn't perfect. No system of government is perfect, but a republic is a hell of a lot better than direct democracy. And I think that's what people don't understand. When we colloquially refer to the term democracy, we refer to the fact that you've got input in your own political destiny. But democracy is a failure in its direct form. I mean, it's proven the world over that it fails wherever it's applied directly. The only buffer system that kind of keeps government semi-sane is a system of representation like a republic, a federal one. And even then, you need a very strong constitution in order to keep government in line. And even then, you need a whole bunch of public watchdogs to keep government in line with the strong constitution on their side. So the problem with democracy is the fact that people vote and fuck off. They don't actually take ownership of their own political destiny as active citizens. They expect politicians to fix all their problems, where, in all honesty, politicians just create more problems. They're not problem solvers. To the largest part, politicians are problem creators. So we need to put these people in office to run departments preferably as small as possible, and to only coordinate activities that we really ought to be doing ourselves. So we've got an unhealthy relationship with politics. We have an unhealthy relationship about our own citizenship and what that means to us. And we have an unhealthy relationship with democracy in the sense that we don't understand what it is. And that's my long ramble on a very, very, very short thing you said, a very, very short thing. Beth, my niece was allowed in with her wife, but they were coerced into a C-section. They didn't leave their room for the entire stay, and the ward was empty. Yeah, that sounds about like a type of bullshit. How do you call up these chats? It's on StreamYard, and it literally just gives me a thing a button I can push, and you pop up on the screen. See, you don't need to prioritize the police. You need to have each city run their own police, all aspects, the vote, out the right people. See, that's the other argument to it, is that's what you'd want anyway. Okay, so here's the thing. This idea, Daniel, is not contradictory to privatizing the police, because privatization, again, is a question of funding, not a question of motive or what the police are doing. They're still servants of the law, and they're still servants of the public, but the funding is now direct from the people who are paying it, as opposed to taking taxes and then paying the police via like whatever government budgets there are. So you want this. You do want this localized community policing. You want that metropolitan policing system, like cantonment policing or county policing or whatever we call it. But the privatization side of it is purely an argument about funding. What is your record amount of times being screened at hospitals? Got screened and had to fill out the questionnaire 7 times in one day. Gatvol could. Fortunately, thing of nouns, I have not been to hospital during this entire lockdown. So my record amount of times by being screened at hospitals is 0. But I can, from what I've heard, I well believe that it's completely out of control. Just going to the mall to me is a huge issue, because I can only get my hands sanitized so many times a day before I lose my shit completely. Sorry, guys, I'm just scrolling through. There's so many comments. I love it. But Steve saw an article about ANC and EFF forming some sort of coalition party. There really is no point for them not to. The EFF have become entirely irrelevant. They haven't opened their mouths once during this entire lockdown. Oh, apart from the time when Juju told us booze must stay banned because you can't trust adults to drink responsibly, or whatever bullshit he's going on about. And, the time that they had to say something about the Hawks still trying to prosecute them, or the NPA. For corruption and nonsense. So the ANC and the EFF are both communists. They both believe in abolishing private property. They both believe in stealing and looting from the public purse. They both believe in violence. Of course, they're perfectly aligned. They really should form a coalition party, because they're the same animal. They're the same evil communist animal that has no redeeming features whatsoever. So it would not surprise me at all if they formed a coalition. Not at all. There we go. Some scorpions came in as pistols. See if we're going to jump on those soon. Which is stupid to me, because it is a pistol, really. It's a slightly bigger one, but in essence, the CZ Scorpion is a pistol. As far as I know, only one batch of CZ Scorpion Evo 3 was classified as handguns on import. The rest were classified as hand machine carbines, which to me is stupid. It really is a pistol. But again, CFR being the CFR. Thank you. Deep State is the problem. Check out 00 Dares on Cyril, the Golden Boy. I will actually, that sounds interesting. I might actually just take a look at that. My temperature is 32, according to your moment. A lot of these temperature measurement guns are made in China, ironically enough, and they don't work, and they give sketchy results, but people still use them because, like monkey see, monkey do, really. There's no independent critical thought anymore. I mentioned on a previous stream about being in a shooting club that shoots at various ranges. Who, what, where? So I run Spectre Unit Western Cape. We are a subsidiary of Spectre Unit up north in Centurion. We're affiliated with SATSA, the South African Tactical Shooting Association, and we basically, look, it's a very closed club in the sense that we just shoot with people who we know, but we arrange shoots pretty much wherever the ranges are available, from False Bay to Kraaifontein to Somerset West to Worcester and Wellington side. So we travel around a bit regarding to which facility we feel like using at a particular time. Constitution is just a piece of paper that government wipes their asses on. Just look at what COVID-19 did worldwide. Exactly. And this is what happens when citizens don't hold their government and their politicians to account. And when they allow fear to take over, and that fear to be the motivator for getting their rights trampled on, and which is why so many of us scream so loudly about why it's bullshit from the very beginning. One question: if I'm not part of a club, can one keep my Section 16 club fees or stewards fees? I'm pretty sure you can. All you need to do is be a member of a accredited organization. I don't know if that infers that you must be a member of a shooting club somewhere, but alternatively, if club fees are really expensive, find a club if possible that's not as expensive. There are options in that regard. I did get a very good shoot in with training this morning. I did. It was a whole box of 50, but handgun rounds and some rifle, but it was drills and accuracy and speed drills, and it was a good shoot. You were SAPSA. Okay, cool. So you're already with an affiliated organization. If they don't require club membership, then I don't think the law needs you to be a member of something else. And Beth's truth bomb, it is indeed. Have an elected sheriff that appoints his own cops. That's exactly the system you want, really. That brings direct accountability of the police to the community they serve. Yeah, I hate queuing. Also, that's why I go to places where I don't have to stand in a queue to get my coffee. I had one guy refuse me, and everyone else entered due to thermometer defaulting to Fahrenheit. I got a joke. By the way, it's a South African Practical Shooting Association. Good people. I shot with SAPSA for a very long time. Dagbeker, net. I've recommended stream. That is perfect. Please do. I appreciate every recommendation. I appreciate feedback as well. And if you don't like what I say, tell me. Look, I don't have a fragile ego. I can handle criticism. I promise I won't cry, and I promise I won't call you names. Unless you're a communist, in which case you're not a human or a person, which is fine. Communists aren't people. Can put that on a shirt too. StreamYard is very easy to use, by the way. I was thinking of using Ecamm, but to be honest, StreamYard just works too well. Youth Day with youth unemployment at least 60%. I wonder they're trying to push elections to 2024. Yeah, and I don't. If they succeed in doing that, we should really take a very deep introspection of our society about why we're letting these assholes get away with it. Hang on, the comments are just nuts, and I've been going for more than an hour. This is what you guys do to me all the time, and I've got stuff to do. I need to go for a run. I'm busy getting so fat. Hang on. Okay, you guys are going on about boomers. Okay, last two questions, and then I'm going to call it, and then I'm streaming again at 7 with Andrew Whitfield. But we'll do more of these. So this is Hannes. Pretty much everyone said they started buying. Oh, all right. Yeah, exactly. This is why the thermometers aren't working. My career is in a holding pattern. So the official position is I passed my Sapphire interview about a week before lockdown. They've been great. They've communicated with me every 2 weeks. I am literally in the holding pattern with them. So when the market picks up and they expand their operations, they will recruit me. But they obviously can't make any promises because no one knows what the market's like. So if you want to help me get back into flying, I'm okay not flying again. I've got other options and other jobs to do. And if you don't want to buy my merchandise or the coffee, buy Sapphire plane tickets. Awesome private sector airline, well run. Really like their spirit. Really like their CEO. I mean, it's a passionate man that goes out at 5 a.m. to the threshold of runway 03 or 21 at OR Tambo and takes video footage of his planes taking off for the first time in 3 months nearly to put it on Twitter. So I really like their thing. Farmers Trail, where's my Zapper code? Okay. There's my Zapper code. If you want to fund my unhealthy drinking habit, my alcoholism in lockdown, thank you very much for everyone. Germ isn't waiting for me. I'm on his show tomorrow at 9 a.m. with Annika Rosley from GOSA. She's the GOSA legal counsel. Well, one of GOSA's legal counsels. That'll be a fun chat. Running is bad for your knees, but and I hate it. But at this stage, I just like getting out and getting some exercise. Gebruik jou Glock, Gideon. Fuck our club. I know. Andre, jy is laat. I'm about to sign off. And that's it. I think, guys, thank you very much. And I will speak to my prospective possible employer about flying guns because someone has to do it. And yeah, thank you for tuning in to what was really just a 7-minute conversation or discussion and turning it into an hour and 5 minutes. You guys have been great. You always are. Ja, ons praat weer binnekort. See you guys tonight at 7 and tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm on Jeremy's Germ Warfare again, and it just keeps going. Well, it's one hell of a week for the stream. Have a wonderful rest of your youth day. Go do fun stuff. Fuck the lockdown. Throw your masks away and don't use dodgy hand sanitizer. From the studio, which is my couch, thank you and goeiemiddag.